encourage people to use chat and to increase the volume. I wanted to first ask if anyone who's on the call has seen a change in one way or another in terms of your volume. And then we're going to have Mel show us a few reports that might give some indication of that as to whether it's gone up just a little bit or maybe not much that's noticeable yet. But I first wanted to get people's feedback if they had any instant comments or stories to add about perhaps having additional people using chat. So anyone who has something to add, just speak up. Otherwise, we'll move into Mel's reports.
The libraries haven't seen any increase. We've only had a couple of chats total since it went live.
So here, this is Mark speaking. I went and looked at the reports. I can tell you, comparing the first 2 days of this week to the last 2 days of last week, and maybe Mel, I apologize if this is what you're going to show. Really show it to be flat in terms of chat offers into the system. For example, the first 2 days of last week, we had 34 chats here at the contact center, and today we've had 36 to date for the first 2 days. If I did it by weeks, it pretty well looks like it's a little more it might be a little misleading. I looked at this week and the last 2 weeks for everybody, and I'm not yet seeing any real monumental growth yet on any of the groups. And you just heard from Ann; she's not seeing it either.
Hey, Mark, this is Chad. Are we doing any advertising with the new students coming in right now, showing them this as people are meeting them and kind of getting them registered and showing them that kind of stuff? Do we have a marketing for this, or are we just going off our webpage and having people go from there?
Chad, I have no idea, because I didn't even know they officially launched it until it was just announced here. So I don't know. Okay. I know we're not doing anything on our end, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll walk over there today to kind of just see where we are once we kind of find out what our numbers look like here. But I'm just curious if they have started that, or if it's just kind of random people finding it on our webpage and going to it from there.
Yeah, good question.
Well, one thing I can say from last week, because I was unclear on this, the homepage for the college still shows the chat links. I believe it's at the top somewhere. I can't describe exactly where it is. So that has been there all along. That hasn't changed. Yeah. I think what did change. I'm looking at it. Yeah, I think what did change was further in on the webpage, there's some department-specific pages that may not have included any information on that, and I think changes were perhaps happening there, but we don't have either Jenny or Tion to confirm any of that with us today.
I do remember seeing an inside story. That's an internal publication that announced chat, but somebody would have to see that. Again, it's internal. It's not to our public. It's not public facing.
Right. And James Cloyd just signed in. I'm not sure if he has audio yet, but James, as soon as you can. James, are you there? Can you hear us now?
I'm here and I have audio.
Okay. So we were just talking about whether we have seen a change of any kind in terms of volume on chat groups, and we've heard comments from the library and Mark at the main contact center, and they're both reporting it's about the same. The libraries is almost insignificantly low, only a couple of chats since we launched it back in June. Those were probably tests, but contact center is about the same. I'm curious if any of the other groups that you're working with can have noticed anything. We're going to
look at James, this is Chad. I had asked the question too, though, since we've been checking in students in the new CASC and everything the last couple of days. Is there advertising, or how are we getting the word out to the students and everything about this new capability? I know we have it like inside story for internal that Mark had just mentioned, but are we doing anything with new students checking in that this new chat capabilities out there?
I do not think we're doing anything right now. I think we were kind of waiting to work out the kinks before they actually start doing the promotional piece.
Yeah, and James, one of the discussions last week, I think you were not, yeah, I don't think you were at that meeting, so you wouldn't have heard this. Um, but it was shown in the notes that I sent out that we decided that the best way to troubleshoot the few remaining issues, and we're really just down to two that don't consistently occur, was to get the volume up by having more people use it. And then that allows us to much more quickly find the cause of the problem and work with people to solve it instead of trying to set up test situations and scenarios that are pretty artificial compared to what the real world would be offering. So that was the basis for the decision last week. And we were counting on the additional marketing to create a change so that we could get through the kinks, as you're noting, and comfortably move into having it in full production. If we're not seeing a change with the results of the marketing that was done, then I just wanted you all to know that and either think about a different way to make this known to people, or make sure that what you're expecting to have happen in terms of marketing is actually getting done. Because it sounds like we're not really full of evidence to say otherwise. Mel, do you want to show the data that you have, or is it not really going to add much to the story? I'll leave that up to you, whether you think the numbers are helpful or not.
Well, I mean, to be honest, Mark, and thank you, Mark. Mark kind of said exactly really what I was going to say anyway. But the only difference is that I ran a report from the 3rd of August, which is the Thursday prior, to last Thursday when it supposedly went live, and then I ran another one from Thursday, the 10th, when it went live, to today, and yeah, I'm not really seeing much of a difference up to now. So it's near enough, more or less, basically what Mark said. I'm happy to show the reports if you want me to, but again, it's really what Mark said.
Well, if we don't have any compelling data, we probably don't need to spend the time on that unless someone wants to see it here. Any requests for that? Okay. Well, without marketing here, I'm not quite sure who to assign this question to. Mark and Chad, do you have some ideas for action items that can be taken internally? At this point, we're waiting for the volume to come up, and we're more than ready to do more troubleshooting once that's the case. But it's functioning, and that was resolved about 2 weeks ago when Mel did some troubleshooting sessions. And in general, it's not that you can say that people will get dropped or be ignored. There just are some fine points that need a little bit more attention. But again, we need more volume to really be able to highlight those and work towards a resolution. So what do you think is an internal way to proceed forward here? I mean, our next item was going to be to talk about SMS, and that involves the marketing department as well. So it's sort of an isolated conversation to have without them involved. But I do want to make sure we're pushing to close out the chat channel here, because as far as Mel and I are concerned, everything we can do has been done.
Yeah, this is Chad. My only suggestion, I think, on this, I mean, without marketing on the call, because this really kind of is a marketing issue to get more people to use it. But we have a tentative audience right now with people checking in. I think maybe we kind of look at just using one or two of them as an example and show them how to go to that. Maybe that we can get spread of the word from our students coming in that this is out there and they can use it as well. Because we really need to get the numbers, and that's really the only way I can see about getting numbers, unless we just have more internal people do it. But the purpose of it is really for the students to kind of get access to the different areas and everything too. So maybe we have them send a couple of chats to the library and everything, and kind of ask questions there before even heading over there, or whatever they want to do on that. So I don't know, those are some suggestions I have.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask as well, do you have like notice boards and things like that? Is there perhaps a sort of a quick little document you could put on a notice board just to say, hey, you know, if you have any questions in relation to or that you want to speak to anyone of any of the different departments about, we are using web chat, and here's the web page. Is there anything like that you could perhaps?
We're putting digital signage up in the new buildings, but really that's not going to be implemented until the first day of school, which will be in a couple weeks. We're just doing the registering right now, so they don't have all that set up yet, but we do plan on putting that in there.
Okay,
Hey, Chad?
Yes,
Did you say you were going to head over at some point today into the marketing area and talk to someone?
I was just going to go over there and see how things are going. There's going to be probably around 2 o'clock today. I'm in meetings until then, so.
Sure. Maybe I'll make a suggestion. Maybe you can put a bug in their ear to go ahead and announce this on Facebook and the other social networks we use.
Yep, I can do that. I think Nanette's out this week, but I'll pop by and see if I can get somebody to help me out on that, or talk to Pat or somebody.
Yeah.
Sure. And I can send Jenny an email because she's been putting a lot of stuff up for us about the new building, and she's been really responsive as far as quickly, getting things out.
Yeah, James, you can do that. Just, it kind of falls over in that area with the new students and stuff. Maybe they can send something out just to get people to try it out.
No, that sounds like a problem. And then if you could still talk with them too, that'd be good.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be over there around 2. I'll try and see what I can do.
Yeah, I believe both Jenny and Tion are on campus. They just have a meeting that they both had to be at that conflicted with this one, and they didn't really have an option to miss it, it sounded like. So I'm hopefully you'll find them there when you get there. Okay, well, let's leave it at that. I'm going to send out minutes and the recording from today, but there really isn't much in terms of new information other than just letting people know that we're dependent on more advertising or more energy of some kind to let people know about this. I was thinking too, as Mel may have been speaking low tech, or maybe I'm thinking back to when I was in school, but were you thinking about paper bulletin boards, as in the places where people post apartments and all that sort of thing? Or have those completely disappeared and I haven't been on a campus in a while?
Well, to be honest, I haven't been on a campus now for about, I'm not going to say how many years.
That's not necessary.
Yeah, it was just an idea because, when I was in university or in college, there seemed to be notice boards here, there, and everywhere. So that's just where I popped out of the question. But obviously back then we didn't have Twitter and Facebook, and Mark throwing that in as well. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and the Facebook page that the college uses doesn't have to really depend on anything that we're doing here. What we're talking about introducing is an interface into that Facebook page, but people are already using that at a pretty high volume, and so that seems like a
message on that.
really good place to go without a lot of effort. But they may have already done that. That's what I guess I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as I said, we can't really go into the second agenda item here is dealing with additional issues that may have come up, and I'm not expecting we have any because there's not any more volume. So let's go to the third one, and we're going to be relatively brief on this, but there was a document, and that's behind this one. Here it is, that Tion gave to us last week, and this was a series of seems like observations as well as some questions about SMS. And as I got to working on this, and I passed some of the questions on to Mel with giving her the opportunity to comment on some of these, which we can comment on. Some of them are more salesperson oriented, and to be honest, they're not really. Discussing these variations and comparing various products and so on is not really a function of an implementation team, which is what we are. And so as I looked at these, I thought, well, there are a couple of these that we do have some information on and we can answer, but a number of the other ones, we're not really invested one way or another in having any department use SMS or not use SMS or any of these other channels. Our job is to get it implemented on the campus and then let others add to the volume of users of them if they think that it's of use to their department. But there's still a comparison of the various, and let me just go down to this other page. There are lots of other options for doing SMS, and those are being listed here: Twilio, Google Voice, Regroup, Alert Us, and so on. And then these various departments are using them in different ways. But what I can say, and I'll ask Mel to reinforce this a little bit, but generically speaking, the biggest advantage to using Serenova SMS is that it is something that is added to the existing call center queues being handled by the same people. So you don't have to come up with a different method of people responding and receiving these messages. It's people who are already generally either on the phone or dealing with emails, or now they're starting to deal with chat messages. And so if you think of the communication happening efficiently through the same group of people, that becomes the key driver for why you would want to use Serenova's SMS instead of one of these other ones, which would end up being isolated in a sense. So Mel, can you say a little more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So the other thing is that obviously, you know, if say myself as a student, you know, say I use web chat and a phone call, and then I'm sending SMS, all of the message history from whichever channel will go under the same customer record. So if during an SMS I mention that I was on a chat with a user and I mention something from that chat, then that agent that's responding to the SMS is able to quickly have a look at the chat previous to the SMS, if you like, or the chat that student is talking about. So you get the full message history from all channels under one student. So I suppose that's the other real the real good thing about using one place to manage all your communications really is really the message history for each student. It'll all be in one place. That's what I would say. And obviously then you've got the reports as well. So if you're using the same categories and things like that, so you know, if you're using the same categories for the SMS as you are for web chat and things like that, the reports can also show the different channels under the same categories, showing you know, what SMS messages you're getting, and the reporting would all be in one place as well, which would, I suppose, make it a lot easier for you guys when you need to do the reporting. That's the other thing that I could say as well.
Yeah, and it seems to me that it's, you tell me again if I'm not totally accurate, but the reporting that's available on SMS has a lot of similarities to what you can get on chat, which answers some of those questions that we see down there below. Do we know that someone has looked at the message? Do we know how many were not open? Do we know that someone responded? And all that sort of thing. I mean, that question about are things outsourced, really all that's doing is talking about the medium, the partner that we work with to give you the SMS number. And in most cases, they are outsourced in that sense, but the actually dealing with the message is not outsourced certainly by us. We send the message to your staff. So that ties it to what you were saying before. I guess,
I mean, what I would say about the technical issues though, because it's usually me that deals with these ones, is that, you know, it depends on the technical issue. So to be completely honest, I've been using Sybase here in the UK with customers and which is SAP, I suppose, both the same thing, and in the US, and there are, I'd say, 2 out of 100. So, and we don't really tend to get many technical issues in relation to SMS, to be honest, because it's such a quick and easy channel. I suppose it's kind of like email, but even easier, really. So we don't tend to get many issues in relation to SMS. And if I go over a full year, I'd say 2 out of 100 might be a technical issue from Sybase, but I have contacts over there at Sybase that I've that remember me because I've worked with them for 10 years. And I remember them, obviously, and if there are any technical issues with Sybase. For one thing, what I would say is Sybase are great at sending out a communication to say, hey, we've had a quick little issue this morning for an hour that we've fixed. They're pretty good at communicating those things before we even ask. But more than anything, if there is an issue that's come along that is very, it has to be very strange for me to not be able to fix it, is what I would say. And they come back really, really quickly. So it's usually us that deals with it, because if there is an issue, it's usually within, the SMS message either getting into the queue. So it could be something to do with the skill. As you know, we use skills for web chat. We use skill. We'll probably use skills for SMS, time of day rules, keywords, things like that. All those different features that we have in Engage. If there is a technical issue, it's usually something to do with those. If it's to do with Engage, then yeah, it's us. If it's to do with the number, for some reason, and to be honest, again, 100% honest, the only times that I have to go to Sybase is when we're using things like, some customers use codes. So, they might send a text out to everybody, to every student or customer, or on an email or something, to say to everybody, hey, if you want to join this group to get information sent out to you automatically, then please subscribe to this group by sending the code, I don't know, opt-in. And then, those students are basically opted in, and you can send out batch SMS messages to them with information. That's the only time that really I tend to get any technical issues, and that's usually down to the customer that I'm using has changed something within the system from what I've implemented. So that's also what I can add as well.
So in terms of being able to move forward with marketing, obviously we can't, they're not here. But the attempt of, the point of having this discussion here is, again, we're recording the discussion, and I can share that with both the marketing people. And I wanted those who are here and are in other departments that might be considering SMS to hear the discussion and then realize that what we're really suggesting our next step is here, because Mel has made real progress in terms of we have a number assigned that happened near the end of last week. We have the intermediate configuration done on the gateway, and she's gone into Engage and done some setup and some configuration such that I think you're pretty much ready to go. If not fully, it's 98% there. So if marketing were ready to say, let's try using this, and again, Mel, you can comment on this, but yeah, it seems to me like until we make the number known to the outside world, and that's a little bit different from chat and some of these others there, but there it was a link. In this case, it's a number. It'd be very easy for some people in marketing to play with our SMS without really affecting anything, but you could make them come into their agents, so the public wouldn't know about it. The only time it might be potentially bleeding into the public is if they tried to do an outbound blast like what you were talking about, or try to test the subscription and have their request go to someone else. But would you agree that we could introduce SMS into the environment for marketing for them to just try it? Go ahead.
Can I just add to this? Is one thing that I asked for this document, and I don't know. I don't think I was on the original email because you sent it to me last night about 11:15, Jim. Which to me, obviously, I was almost in bed.
Right.
So I haven't had a chance to look at the document fully this morning. I've been on call after call. But I actually asked for this document because one question that was raised, and I don't think you were on this call on this day, Jim, was can Engage do everything that the other products that they use SMS for? Has it got the same functionality? So I asked for this document. So I do need to go through this. I'd say just to go through the, on the next page that you showed with Twilio and all the rest of them. They use Twilio, I think, at the moment. But I just need to go through these just to see that we've got the same features and all the rest of it. So I will comment on all of those now that I've got that documentation. As I say, I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to do it this morning with all the calls that I've been on. If you give me, till tomorrow, I'd say, then I've got a chance to really go through this properly and comment back.
Okay. Well, would you agree that it's relatively painless and low risk for them to introduce it the way I was describing? I'm trying to give the marketing team,
definitely.
I'm trying to get them to maybe give us a decision after listening to the meeting recording and then seeing your document later in the week. If before the weekend they can say, okay, we're ready to do this. We'll just set up a separate session for the 5 people or so who are interested in hearing how that was done. And we don't need to wait to do it on this meeting. We can do it Tuesday or something next week.
Yeah.
Okay, so if
I was going to say that. I was going to say that once we've got this document back to them and I've been able to go through and say, yeah, we can do this, or no, we can't do that, etc., etc. Then, yeah, I think it'd be great to set up a call with them, whether it be Friday this week or Monday, depending on how quickly I can go through all of these, make sure everything works as it should and engage, etc.
Okay.
I think it'd be great to have a call with just them.
All right, so that's the Serenovus plan right there. And in terms of how it impacts MCC people, it's going to be coming to the marketing folks through email. But if there's anyone else on the call that wants to give them your feedback or comments, more than welcome. And James, sounds like you're going to be over there this afternoon, so you can mention that as well, that it would be good for them to listen to this discussion. And we're going to have the document that Tion gave us updated in the next day or so, and we'll distribute that as well. Hoping to convince.
The other thing is I'm just having a quick read through these, is that there are some that I don't understand the question, so it might be that I'll just put a couple of X's next to those, just to let you know that I'd like to discuss that on a call.
Okay. Okay, so any other comments on this document and this process for getting started with one SMS trial user marketing? Okay, anything else?
I think it might be good as well just to show that now that we've got a number in there, I mean, even before I've gone through these, if you wanted just to try and set up a quick call with them, just to show that, we can show them an SMS coming into the system, me being the agent, responding to it, etc. I don't know if you wanted to do just a quick 15-20 minute demo with them. That might help them as well, because some of the questions here, like staff personal cell numbers, are kept private while texting students. I don't understand why that would be there, because we're not using staff cell numbers. It's engaged. There's one cell number that comes into the system, and then it gets distributed out to whichever agents are there to handle SMS. So it might be a good idea just now that we've got a number, which we didn't have last time, and we've got it configured, it might be a good idea just to have a quick 15-20 minute demo with them, perhaps.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll communicate all that to the 2 marketing folks in one message, and then I'll just copy the rest of the group. If you're interested, you can see what we're saying there, but the idea would be to get something happening outside of the Wednesday meeting, and then ideally by next Wednesday we can report back how that's going, as well as ideally having some more chat traffic. All right, anyone else on the call who has something to bring up? I've covered everything on my agenda, and I think Mel has as well. Anything more?
I'm good.
All right.
Oh, I just checked Facebook. I sent you guys an email. There actually was a posting on August 10th regarding chat. So
Great.
We'll just have to do a little bit more, I think, to get the word out. Maybe have some handouts that we can give students as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and Twitter as well is the other one. I don't know if you can check Twitter, so.
Oh yeah, I can check it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know that a lot of people are using, I mean, I didn't want to say this, but I'm 36, so I think I'm getting out of the young person's age group now, but I do seem to have noticed that a lot of people tend to be using Twitter a lot more than Facebook now, so just to mention that as well.
Yep, and it is actually on Twitter.
Great.
We're making progress.
Woohoo!
Well, if we get desperate, I can sit here and send you phony test messages and you can say the volume went up, but I'd rather see the real thing.
Yes, I think that's the best way.
Okay, thanks everyone. We appreciate your time and we'll be back next Wednesday to continue the discussion. So thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.